all the cows should return home. Are there any peacocks too? No monkeys allowed. Monkeys just fight. But I found that monkeys have, I found a few good characteristics in monkeys. One is that they may become very angry at you, but they forget it very quickly. Maybe we should learn that as well. Trini, just one point is that if we go late, you'll yell at me. Why are you going so late? You're interfering with my class. So we should become monkeys in some ways, but not in all ways. And also another good characteristic of monkeys is that when someone, because they have big families, so when someone gives trouble to one of the babies, the little ones, the whole family gets together, very, very angry. They won't tolerate the little ones being given trouble to. And especially the real big ones. They're the protectors. But when they're not protecting the family, they're fighting with the family continuously. So we should gain these two wonderful characteristics of monkeys, but not any other characteristics of monkeys, in my opinion. Now, Sri Chaitanya Prabhu, now please, everyone close your eyes. Close your eyes and think of the deity that you have the most relationship with. And when you think of that deity, see if you can actually do it. See if you can go before that deity and offer a flower garland, a beautiful, the most beautiful and fragrant flower garland. And see if you can make that beautiful, fragrant flower garland just for exactly in the way that it will be pleasing to your Lord. And then jewels, a jeweled necklace, and place it in such a way that your deity will be so happy to receive it and accept it. And then sweet mangoes, very sweet mangoes, and other fruits too, but especially mangoes. And then say wonderful things about that deity in your mind. Their beauty, how they're there for you, whatever you like. And then offer a prayer to that deity. Because deity means God, actually. And then offer your very humble obeisances. And now, come back here to listen to Srila Prabhupada speaking about Prema Bhakti. Take your time to come back, but come back so we can hear what Prabhupada says. Please listen carefully, and after I'm going to ask you if anything struck you, or how did Prabhupada's words affect you? Are you still remembering your deity, or immediately the mind went somewhere else? Keep your mind focused on the holy names. Very early lecture. This is how, listen to Prabhupada's voice and his tone and what he says. This is 1966, very soon after he arrived in the United States, in New York. Premandala Choita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva. Everyone, Vidayesu Valokayanti Yam Sam Sundaram Achintya Gunasarupa Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayesu Vilokayanti. Now, people say that whether God can be seen. If anyone has seen God, yes, God can be seen. There is no doubt about it. But it requires some qualification. Not some, but only one qualification. God is so kind that He does not require any material qualification. He does not require that you should be very learned man, very beautiful, or very rich man, or a king, or emperor, or minister, or president. No, nothing of this sort. You can be anything, but only one qualification required. Then you can see God. What is that qualification? Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayesu Vilokayanti. That qualification is unalloyed love, that's all. One who has achieved that unalloyed love for God. Unalloyed love means without any tinge of philosophical speculation or fruitive activities. That's another subject. It requires great explanation. But unalloyed love means without any tinge of material color. That is called unalloyed. In philosophical speculation or fruitive activities, even it is offered to the Supreme Lord, that is not love. Love is above this. So, if one can achieve that unalloyed love for God, with that, I mean to say, magic wand, the eyes become eligible for seeing God. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. And that eye is called devotional eye. Devotional. We have to, not only eyes, but every part of our body, we have to spiritualize by the contact of spiritual service in devotion of the Lord. We can gradually spiritualize our whole set of senses. Just like an iron rod given to the fire, gradually Its temperature rises, it becomes warmer, warmest, very hot, then red hot. When it is red hot, then it is no longer iron, it is fire. Similarly, by our contact in devotional service of the Lord, we can change the whole position of our material existence. And we have, if we have developed to that stage of unalloyed love for God, then God can be seen 24 hours. Not that one seen and again not seen, no. This is described here, that Santa, the great devotees, unalloyed devotees, who are liberated souls, have no connection with material activities or philosophical speculation. Such unalloyed devotees, because their eyes are smeared with the ointment of love only, therefore they can see the Lord Sadaiva, always, 24 hours.
What do you think? Raise your hand if you'd like to say if anything struck you. What do you think? What do you remember? Bertrand.
Prabhupada mentioned that those devotees who are the Santa, he mentioned the great devotee, those whose eyes are smeared with the love of God, they can see the Lord 24 hours.
Thank you. Yes, Prabhu, you wanted to say?
Prabhupada mentioned that only one quality is required to see God, that is unalloyed love. So sometimes we think like we have, can we see God or not? But if we have that love towards God, we can see Him always.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to say what they remember or think of what Prabhupada, what struck them?
That example of that rod, iron rod becoming hotter, a little bit red, and actually eventually becoming a fire and no longer remaining iron was great example of contact becoming more purified, and people actually becoming God and actually seeing God all the time, or more like becoming God themselves. That's what that struck me as
You
great.
just say that we become God-like or we become God? What do you think?
It's a non-different. I think Prabhupada said that it's because of the iron is so hot, it becomes fire. So this is the iron rod and the fire. They're non-different.
Non-different from the fire. But yet there's the big fire and then there's iron rod.
Small fire.
Yeah, small
Okay.
fire.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaji. Thank you.
Yes. Because it's sort of, in this kind of a group, it's dangerous to say that we become God. We'll all beat you up or something. Who knows what we will do? What? If you're God? Because it's obvious we're not God. Everyone who's God, raise your hand. No. I mean, how did I get in this? Who? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Good one. Because, are you familiar with what Mayavad philosophy is? Impersonalism? It means that we're God but have forgotten. That we've been covered by Maya or illusion. So how could God be covered by illusion and forget that he's God? So the Vaishnava philosophy said, yes, we're godlike, we're spiritual as God is spiritual, as Krishna is spiritual, but we're tiny individual parts and parcels, individual, forever, individuals. And our relationship with Krishna, the big God, is not to become God, but to serve God. And then we become one in the sense of service. Like the ambassador to the country is one with the country, but still he's an individual. Like that. Okay. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate your comments and thoughts. Anyone else like to say what struck them? Or what they remember? Yes?
Prabhupada said it doesn't matter whether we're rich or poor, or we just need to have unalloyed love.
Yes. There is no material qualification. It is just a matter of loving Krishna. And then we won't see him just once, but 24 hours a day. So Prabhupada here stressed the same thing that the Bhagavatam stresses, really, is that our real purpose of life is to learn to love Krishna, to learn to love the Supreme Lord. So many questions can arise, questions that we dare not ask even, what to speak of answer. And there's like, is there really a God? Is God really Krishna? Does he really like to play the flute? Why doesn't he like to play the saxophone, piano, violin? Why does he like to herd cows? Why not elephants? So those answers lie in the heart, or those questions lie in the heart of every conditioned soul. Is it all real? Is it really real? And then you get someone like Srila Prabhupada, who you can hear from his voice that he doesn't doubt. But we conditioned souls, the intelligence's function is to doubt. So it's just the intelligence doing what the intelligence does, is doubting. So how do we find out? How do we find out? We take the path of the Avanti Brahmana. Life is meant for that path, not necessarily not interacting with everyone, becoming renounced from everything, living as a poor man on the street and living by begging, not in that way, but fully depending on Krishna. Then we find out, well, am I protected by him or not? When Prabhupada came on the Jaladuta, he was coming as a servant. He had nothing. He had books, Bhagavatams, but he had this amazing service attitude to the mission of his Guru Maharaj, which was the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he saw so clearly, after times of hardships, it's not that hardships won't come. Hardships are the test to see if we're going to hold on tightly or not. And it is a dangerous material world. Padam yad vipadam. There is danger here. But if we become like children in the sense of a child walking across the street, the busy streets of the city, holding on to the hands of father on one side and mother on the other side, the child is in no anxiety because that child knows that my parents will protect me. The parents may be in anxiety, but the child won't be in anxiety. Will Krishna take care of me or not? If I hold tightly to him? Well, life is meant to find that out. If you talk to devotees who have gone to places to preach, devotees who distribute books, who do anything regularly in Krishna's service, steadily and regularly, you ask them, and this is such a nice way to associate, you ask them, well, did Krishna protect you? And hear what they have to say. But yet we have to walk our path. We have to walk our path. So the experience of Krishna's mercy is so wonderful, but we have to stay on the path. Don't give up. Stay on the path. Hold tightly. Stay on the path. And see the difficult times as Krishna wanting to see. Sometimes I think that when I'm in the best of consciousness, I think, oh Krishna, oh Srimati Radharani, I don't want anything other than your service. I want to serve you. I want to serve you only. And then I imagine a voice, oh really? Let's see. So we call that a test. But the test is meant mostly for us to, for me to see. For me to see. For me to see what I have to do next to improve. And if I don't, and Krishna may not tell us every step from now until the very end, but he will, from my experience, I've seen, we always know the next step, what I should do to get one step better, and that step is basically in our control. To get from here to there may be out of our control, but the next step is in our control. I remember doing a workshop with the devotees in Melbourne, and it was something about balancing, life balancing or something. And then I asked, at some point after the devotees were very thoughtful, how many of you know your next step, if you wanted to advance, what should you do that's in your capacity, even though it may be a baby step? How many of you know what it would be? I'm not asking that now. But every single devotee raised their hand. Well, then the question is, do I want to take that next step? And that freedom is there. The freedom is there. Do I want to walk this way, or do I want to walk this way? Krishna grants us that freedom. That choice is there. And if we keep ourselves in bad association, once in Melbourne, I've mentioned this so many times, in 1975, Melbourne Town Hall, Prabhupada was speaking, and someone asked the question, how do I become sincere? And Prabhupada replied, if you want to become a drunkard, associate with drunkards. If you want to become sincere, associate with them. And he pointed to the devotees sitting on the stage with him. So that certainly put a lot of pressure on the devotees. I was sitting in the audience and very happy I was in the audience, not on the stage. I put so much pressure on the devotees who are dedicated. They have to keep in the fire always so that they become more and more like fire in service. But what else is life for? We want to do good for ourselves, we want to do good for our family, we want to do good for the world, but none of that will satisfy us unless we do good for Krishna. Because that's our natural position. And when we chant Krishna's names, when the kirtan is, if we're absorbed in the holy names of Krishna, especially in kirtan, Indra Prabhu used to say that japa is like taking a pill. And kirtan is like taking an injection. Now some of us really like japa, but if you get absorbed in the holy names, it is so attractive. Especially if the mind, that's what I mean by absorbed, if the mind actually enters into the holy names, into the undistracted, full concentration. I remember one Nirjala Ekadasi that we had do you remember that? We had in the farm we had a retreat. And there weren't as many devotees here as there was then, but we all just sat in groups and chanted all day long. And then in the evening we had a kirtan. And what struck me, and there's only one other time that I was really hit like this, when we had that kirtan, there were no minds in the room. It felt like there were all souls just chanting. And it was so amazing. There was such natural happiness. Again, it's the mind that's jumping here and there, and I want this and I want that, that holds us back. So how to control that mind? There was one quotation that I neglected to read when Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commented on this verse, on that verse of Astaya Nistam. He says, since bhakti appeared to that Avanti Brahmana, he rejected thoughts of renunciation and methods of tolerating dualities. Because when we want to be austere, when we want to be tolerant, we do it by the strength of our will, by the strength of our mind, by the strength of our determination. But instead of trying to do it by his power, he submerged himself in the sweet ocean of service to the Lord's lotus feet. And he danced with great boldness. So that's really the key. We need to get absorbed in the sweet taste of serving the Lord's lotus feet. The holy names, the deities, the distribution, the Dham, the Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, some absorption, some service that fully takes us over, so to speak, will give us the taste. And not only will give us the taste, but it will give us the experience of Krishna's presence, because we won't be able to do it by our own power. Every person who has distributed books, naturally when you start to distribute books, you do it by your own cleverness and the lines, I'm from where you're from, here, out of town, on and on and on. And stopping people is the hardest thing. But sometimes it really works and sometimes it doesn't work. It's like medicine. Sometimes you take medicine and you're cured, and sometimes it doesn't. You take medicine and you're not cured. So it's not the medicine that's curing you. Exactly. It is Krishna. So at some point when you're distributing books, I'm just using that as an example, or at some point when you're doing any service or another, you fail by your own power, proves itself insufficient. And then what do you do? What does one do? One can get depressed, one can give up, one can go get some chocolate or something, or one can really pray to Krishna. Say, if you don't help me with this, if you don't do it through me, nimitta karam bhavya sabhyasachin, if I don't become an instrument in your service, what can I do? I can't do anything. So if you want to distribute mercy through me, then I will try my best. But it is really your mercy that's going to make it happen or not happen. And every devotee who has done that sees when Krishna wants, it happens. That's called empowerment. And then we say, oh yes, Krishna's there. There's a famous story in Sri Ramanuja Sampradaya of one of the disciples of Ramanuja, maybe Quresh, asked how he could get faith in God. So Sri Ramanujacharya said, walk south. And he said, you've ordered? Okay. So he walked south. No other order. Walk south. So he walked south, and when he was tired at night, he asked someone, could I take rest here? Yes. Would you like some milk to drink? Would you like this? Yes. Yes. I haven't eaten anything. Yes. Next morning, he left, walked south, and he found that at each step, he was protected and fed and cared for. So after 7 days, which was his specific order, he returned and said, now I understand that I've been cared for. I've been cared for. Whether we're devotees or not devotees, we're being cared for. So, Hare Krishna. So what I would like, we have 15 more minutes before the end of class. Everything's on time. So please discuss again the 3 verses all together. But before we do that, you have a question or a comment, Prabhu?
Thank you, Maharaj. About Srila Prabhupada, making that there is no qualifications required. It brings to my mind a verse from the Padyavali. For your pleasure, I'd like to offer. Vyadhasya charanam dhruvasya ka vayo vidya gajendrasya ka kubjaya kim yunam rupam adhikam kim sudamano dhanam vamshah ko vidurasya yadava pater ugrasya kim paurusham bhaktya tushyati kevala nacha guner bhakti priyo madhavaha. So it says Vyadhasya charanam. Acharanam, where was the killer, who was the hunter, where was piety in him? Vayo, Dhruvasya Vayo, where was Dhruva's maturity? After all, he was just a 5-year-old boy. Vyadhasya charanam Dhruvasya cha Vayo Vidya Gajendrasya ka. So where was the knowledge of Gajendra, the elephant? After all, he was just an animal. Gajendrasya ka Kubjaya Kimkyu Namarupam. Where was the beauty of Mother Kubja? After all, she was just a deformed lady. Vamshaha ko Vidurasya Yadava Pater. Where was the high birth of Mahatma Vidur? He was just a son of a maidservant. Ugrasya Kim Paurusham. And where was the bravery of Maharaj Ugrasen? After all, he was just a captive of his enemies. So how is that without any qualifications, all of these were able to please Krishna? Then it says, Bhaktya tushyati kevala nacha gunair. It is only because Bhaktya tushyati, Krishna is satisfied by only one qualification that Srila Prabhupada also mentioned in there, which triggered this verse. Bhaktya tushyati kevala nacha gunair. No qualifications, no other gunas, no other material qualifications are required. Bhakti priyo madhava. It is our loving devotion which is very dear to Krishna. And so because of that, all these examples that are given, they have no qualifications, but they were recipients of Krishna's love and mercy because they had devotion in their heart for Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Now I'm caught because I I want to demand you to recite another verse from Bhadyavali.
Can I phone a friend? It's a game show helpline. I'd like to call my friend Gopa Vrindesh Prabhu. I can't think of another verse right now. Padyavali. Yesterday you had mentioned in the class. I looked up that verse. One second. So in the class, I think in the context of the first verse, in the introduction to your sessions, Maharaj, you had mentioned one statement which is actually a verse from the Padyavali, and that verse is here.
By Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati.
Yes, Maharaj.
He said it's worthwhile for us to meditate on that. So now we are following the advice of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Please say that.
Yes, Maharaj. So this is by Srila Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. Parivadatu jano yatha tatha va nanumukharo na vayam vicharayamaha harirasa madira madati mattaha bhuvi vilutho natamo nirvishamaha. It's a little difficult. Maybe Gopa Prabhu can correct. Let the garrulous populace say whatever they like.
Garrulous means talkative. People
Talkative.
just talk and talk and talk.
Garrulous populace say whatever they like. We shall pay them no regard. Thoroughly maddened by the ecstasy of the intoxicating beverage of love for Krishna, we shall enjoy life running about, rolling on the ground and dancing in ecstasy. So that's the translation provided. Sri Sarvam Bhattacharya, Padyavali, verse number 73.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Gopa Vrindesh Prabhu. What can I do? He asked you to recite a verse and he's your friend. What can I do?
I have the same verse in front of me.
There's the microphone. You can do as you like. The microphone's right there.
Which one? The same verse.
As you like. Any verse.
No.
No, we're not. No. You can even recite that same verse if you like.
Okay.
Because meditation is constant for it to be effective.
Parivadadu jano yatha tatha va nanumukharo na vayam vicharayama harirasa madadi matta bhuvi viluthamanata manirvishama. Let the garrulous populace say whatever they like. We shall pay them no regard, thoroughly maddened by the ecstasy of the intoxicating beverage of love for Krishna. We shall enjoy life running about, rolling on the ground and dancing in ecstasy.
Such is devotion. But what do we do when Prabhupada, when he comes to the United States, Boston Harbor, it was perhaps New York, he ends by saying that I have no devotion. Does anyone remember that specific poem? Do you remember it? I have no devotion, but yet I'm here on the order of Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but I have no devotion. But here I am, like your puppet, Kaputli, Putulnach Bengali. You can make me dance as you like. You pull the strings, and I will dance as you like. And indeed, Krishna, Mahaprabhu, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Nityananda, they made Prabhupada dance, and Prabhupada really danced. He really danced. And whatever Krishna gave him, he added that to his dance. Krishna gave him scientists. He went for the linchpin that held contemporary materialistic civilization together. He went to attack that. He went for the book distribution, establishing the temples, making devotees, establishing the dhams, places where people can come and take shelter in the holy dhams. And he preached himself. Such an amazing person. But, not but I said but again, even though I said but. But we have to try to apply these things to our own life. And before we think that, how could I, who am so nothing, insignificant, the great examples of Prabhupada and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's words. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he's saying this, and what's most astounding is that he was a scholar, the greatest scholar in India of his time. And the last thing this grave scholar would do is roll about on the ground, dancing like a maddened person. But by the mercy of Mahaprabhu, this is what he was saying. So how to get the mercy of Mahaprabhu? How to get the mercy of the great acharyas? How to get the mercy of Sisi Radhaballabha, Sisi Gonatai, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra, Prabhupada? That is the question we should ask ourselves, or a question we should ask ourselves. But before we end, I wanted to tell a little story that I've also told so many times. Because what happens if we feel we don't have any devotion, which seems to be natural for the people who have most devotion, and that's a problem, because when you say, Prabhu, I don't have any devotion, they say, oh, you're so humble, that means you have so much devotion. But what happens if really you feel that I'm really empty, but you want to take a step forward? So I will tell you a little story that many of you probably heard me say it already, but it's a true story. In the 80s, early 80s, perhaps 1985 or so, we were in Vrindavan. And Vrindavan at that point, amazingly enough, wasn't popular. Now you can't even fit yourself into the temple room, practically speaking, even if you're the size of a needle. It's really difficult. And even if a needle is there, if you walk backwards, you'll trip over 5 people. But at that time, not many people came. And one devotee, whose name was Mahaprabhu, he was preaching in Iran. And he had gathered some devotees who previously were Muslims. So they had come to Vrindavan, and since I knew him, he brought them to different devotees. So he brought them also to my room, and I talked a little while, said whatever little I could say. Some of them spoke English, some of them didn't, but he translated into Farsi. And then they left to go somewhere. So one lady and a translator, and the lady was an elderly, not elderly, but middle-aged lady. She said to me through the translator that I don't know what to do. I'm born in a Muslim family, and I can't relate to deities at all. I can't relate to the form of the Lord. By conditioning, by training, by my mind, I can't relate to them. So me being who I am, I have so much philosophy, I told her, Krishna can change matter to spirit, this, that, and it didn't touch her at all. Not even a little bit. So then I remembered something that I'd heard that Prabhupada had said, because we were in Vrindavan quite close to the time where Srila Prabhupada had left, and it was really still buzzing with Prabhupada said this and Prabhupada's energy about that, and the temple was new, and tried to make sure the bells are ringing on time and like that. And it was so poor at those times. There was no electricity practically, or when there was electricity, it was either 440 or 0, practically speaking. And it was really something. And you couldn't phone Mathura, what to speak of Delhi, what to speak of your friends overseas. And we were poor too. And so anyway, I remembered what Prabhupada had said, that if you have a problem that you can't solve, you should take it to Balaram, who's leaning on Krishna. So I remembered that, and I said, you should take this to Balaram. You tell him that you're born in a Muslim family, that you can't really believe he's real. You tell him everything. But you should tell him completely, honestly, everything. And don't stop until you're completely finished. Talk as long as you like. I even gave her instructions because when you get to Vrindavan temple, one of the things you have to learn is how to use your elbows properly, so you can make your way to in front of the deities. So I taught her how to use her elbows and then when you get in front of the deities, you put your elbows and you claim your space in front of Balaram like this. And be patient and you'll get there. So I told her to tell Balaram everything. And I said, he speaks any and every language. So you speak in Farsi as you like. So she went, and I completely forgot about her. And then 45 minutes later, she returned with her translator friend and said, now I believe. I also said, you just wait there as long as you have to. Just wait there until you're satisfied after you tell him everything. So she came back and said, now I believe. I have no idea what happened. But since then, I send people to Balaram. So here, Balaram Hoilo Nitai, and then there's Srimati Radharani, and then you have Balaram with Jagannath and Subhadra Devi. So if you find yourself empty of any bhakti, you take it to Balaram, or you could take it to Srila Prabhupada and tell him everything. And then just wait. You don't have to use your elbows so much, except on Sundays and Janmashtami. But tell him everything, and then just wait there until you're satisfied. Okay, I think it's time for prasadam. So one other thing, we're meeting here at 3:30. And Mataji is going to finish off the Madhava Mahotsav, which he said yesterday was also Radha Madhava Mahotsav, actually. Confirmed by a sneeze over in that corner. So please make sure you're on time, because you don't want to miss this. And after that, we will have a closing, little bit of closing, and we will tell you a great secret as well. So please take prasadam and see you exactly ekdam saritin. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sisi Gonatai ki jai, Giraj Maharaja ki jai, Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Gaur.